Let us acknowledge we reside on the ancestral lands and waters of the Coast Salish people who have called this place home since time immemorial. And let us honor inherent Aboriginal and treaty rights to be passed down from generation to generation.
Thank you.
And now the Pledge of Allegiance led by Paul.
Oh, okay. Let me stand up. All together, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America.
And to the republic for which it stands,
One
One
nation,
Nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
all.
Thank you.
Play ball.
So, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I have some connectivity issues, so I may have to turn off my video at some points. It's not because I don't love you all. And I would say I absolutely appreciate the pledge in the beginning. You should be acknowledged by the chair, though. So just in the future, email me or something so I can call on you. With that, let's go into the roll call.
Okay, starting with the most operatic Sharon Abreu.
It's a little bit flat.
David Anderson,
Here.
Bill,
Here.
Janet,
here,
Kyle, David Dellendorf,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
Jane,
Here.
Patty,
here,
Tony,
Present.
Dick, Liz,
here,
Bob,
Here.
Kevin,
Okay.
Maureen,
here,
Anne Marie, Tom Starr.
Here,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go into approval of the minutes from the August 18th meeting. I think I saw an email that somebody had an addition or an edit on this. Am I correct on that?
I do.
sent it to
Go ahead,
Sharon.
Bill.
Okay,
don't-
Bill, we'll go to Bill first and then Bob.
I don't have my change in front of me, but I emailed Sharon saying, here is my proposed correction because a statement I made was incomplete and I just completed it for her.
Okay. Sharon, you have that?
I resubmitted the minutes with the changes that I was given, so it should be in there. If it isn't, then we don't have the most up-to-date version of the minutes.
Okay.
But I think we do. Just let me know if there's any problem. I did add.
And Bob, you had a comment or a suggestion or an
Right,
edit?
I have a couple of them. On the first page, under item 4, 3 things added to the amendments were, under number 3, in the second to the last sentence, he wasn't thinking about lawsuits, but we might want to change a couple of words if we want to limit it to that. To properly describe what we're talking about, I suggested that we say if we want to limit it to legal counsel's advice, which is what we were talking about there. Otherwise, it's unclear. So just take out the word that right before then Bill Apple and put in legal counsel's advice. Then on the next page, there's a series of 7 dots, boom, 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 boom. On the third dot, first line, Kevin Colon, that aspect of things got past him. You have it PASSED, and I don't think that is the word, isn't it? PAST?
Yeah,
Yes.
I made those corrections.
Oh, you
I
already
made
did?
this.
Then did you
Yeah.
make I must have sent them to you. Did you make the
Yeah.
correction from 2020 to 2022?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's
Yeah,
all I
so
have. Then we're good.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
make sure everybody has the most current version, which maybe you don't, but
I was looking at the old version. Thank you.
Move the minutes be approved as amended.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. Is there a second?
A second.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Paul, second by Patty. The, all those in favor for adoption of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Was that one abstention, Sharon?
No, 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 I'm full
Okay.
approval.
So the minutes are approved with the changes submitted by Commissioner Apple and Commissioner O'Connell. Okay, so we're going to go into the budget provisions amendment. And so Bob, we're going to turn it over to you to lead us on this discussion.
All right. Let me, before, well, the first thing I want to say is that anybody who's not aware of this, Bill Apple has suggested alternative to some of the languages here, which we obviously ought to entertain, look at after I talk about what I've got here, if that's all right with everybody. The budget provisions and process amendment, as it was then called, we might need to name this. I don't know if everybody thinks this is appropriate name, but the first page of it was adopted by the entire council, the entire commission many months ago. So it's already, it's what we're starting with. The second page of it is what we propose to add, numbers 2, 3, and 4 on the second page. Do we need to put this up, or do you all have it in front of you?
You have it.
I have mine.
It might, if everybody has it, that's fine, but for the public particularly, it might be good if somebody could share the screen and put it up.
Is someone competent to do that? I am not.
We're all incompetent.
We're all incompetent. I can't do it.
Well, if we have,
Crickets.
I cannot.
I can put
Catherine,
it up.
do you have it available? Oh, thank you very much, Tony.
yay, Tony.
Tony's
Let's do it
great.
again.
Wait,
All right.
is that it? Because I think I got it up there, but I'm not sure that's the right. Is that right,
This is
Bob?
it. This is it. That's the first page. And the first
Okay.
page, we can go to the second page because the first page has been fully adopted. So the
Okay.
second page.
All right, here we
All
are.
right. All right. On the second page, let me say that I made note of the changes that were generally approved on numbers 2 and 3, because we're going to be going at it in number 4. But let me reiterate those. On the fourth line of number 2, upon successful motion of the CRC, this is about ending our term, right? And I think Tony was fairly adamant, and I think we ended up going along with him about approval of a 2/3 favorable vote of the entire CRC. So what ought to be struck is after upon successful motion, then we should strike of the CRC and put in its place upon successful motion approved by a 2/3 favorable vote of the entire CRC. Can we do that now, or do we just remember it? Can someone do that?
Why don't we?
Whoever-
attempt it?
And
I thought number 1 and 2 were entirely voted upon and decisions were made.
I
in the
think
last meeting.
that I think that they were, but this does not read the way that we had decided.
Well, I think we should go back and watch the video and make sure what the vote was.
Yeah, I did that. So anyway,
If you did that, Bob, then okay, then we can go ahead and do that.
so number 2 again, the fourth line, upon successful motion approved by a 2/3 favorable vote of the entire CRC. Okay,
yes. Yes.
so we'll change that later. It's not, okay.
Well, if that's the only change in this section, you could put a motion on the floor now, and we can just take care of that and move on to the final amendment.
Well, I think we already adopted it. I was just making note of it, but yes, if that's what we need to
Okay.
do.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
Okay, number 3,
Good.
the change in number 3 was the CRC may, and we changed it to CRC shall also submit proposed amendments to the legislative authority for informational purposes. We struck the next sentence. The legislative authority shall have no duties or responsibilities, which by the way, is what caused me to vote against my own proposal originally, but I've mellowed out since then. But anyway, we struck the legislative authority shall have no duties. And then in the final sentence, the CRC, we took out at its own discretion and put it shall. The CRC shall pass a resolution to accompany the proposed amendments to the auditor.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, that was all voted on.
yes. I'll read it again. The CRC shall pass a resolution to accompany the proposed amendments to the auditor.
Ah.
Okay. That looks right.
Yes,
Now, on number 4, I propose that we make a couple of changes. One of them is it was brought up to me the specter of a lawsuit initiated by the prosecuting attorney.
Island County.
What?
Island County.
Island County.
I thought the case that was referenced was Island County.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm referring to now, though.
right.
Bill is suggesting that we could possibly have a lawsuit that survived beyond the term of this commission, and that therefore the plaintiff could, or defendant for that matter, could disappear. I am suggesting that we strike and represent in a couple of places. That the prosecuting attorney advise one of the parties and not represent. Advice is a different thing than representing, and you're not taking anybody to court. We've got it there, and we've got it up the sentence before that, advise and represent. I suggest that we strike those. And then down in the second to the last sentence, the decision to represent the CRC, I would suggest advise. And I think that Kevin is going to have some alternate suggestions here, which will probably end up being fine with me, but the decision to advise. And then I would add, with the approval of the prosecuting attorney. The prosecuting attorney has objected to this and has called it illegal. But I read the case that he cited, and my layperson's opinion, as I'm not presently a practicing attorney, don't have a license to practice, and I'm not giving anybody a legal opinion about anything, is that this case does not stand for what it was cited for. And as a matter of fact, what the case stands for, the holding of it is, the court said, we hold that county boards of commissioners do not possess statutory authority to appoint outside counsel over the objection of an able and willing prosecuting attorney. Later on in the case, they state, in order for a board to hire an outside party to perform duties delegated to a public official, that official must be not simply incompetent or otherwise undesirable, and no one is saying Randy is that by any means, but truly unavailable to or unable to perform. A conflict of interest is construed as adequate grounds to find a prosecuting attorney unavailable or disabled. Got it? So if there's a conflict of interest, the person can be construed as unavailable or unable to perform. And then,
Bob,
yes,
who's calling?
could you please read that section again?
sure.
Oh, yes, Shelley, hi.
First, I'll read the holding, which is a one-liner toward the beginning of the case. We hold that county boards of commissioners do not possess statutory authority to appoint outside counsel over the objection of an able and willing prosecuting attorney. Obviously, that suggests that an able and willing prosecuting attorney can cite that he has no objection, he or she has no objection, freeing the way for the folks to hire somebody, and which is what, in my opinion, that person ought to do if he recognizes a conflict of interest. Now, the section that you asked me to read reads like this: in order for a board to hire an outside party to perform duties delegated to a public official, that official must be not simply incompetent or otherwise undesirable, but truly unavailable or unable to perform. A conflict of interest is construed as adequate grounds to find a prosecuting attorney unavailable or disabled. If we were alleging that the counsel was incompetent, otherwise undesirable, that would not rise to the sufficient level to override the voters in choosing this individual. The voters decide whether or not the person is competent, etc. But circumstances can obtain that makes the person unavailable or disabled. And the court sets out that one of those circumstances is a conflict of interest. Bam. So all this section does is suggest what ought to happen when there is a conflict, a recognized conflict of interest. Okay.
Bill?
So
I think my alternative is designed to keep us out of this swamp. The Island County case was very colorful. It was basically a political fight between the prosecutor and the Board of Commissioners. One was considered liberal, the others were considered conservative. They did not get along. And because of conflict and spite that grew between them, the commissioners reared back and hired a lawyer who, I think when the case was over, had to return the money she was paid. It was very messy. These cases are based on facts. I think that there is no good reason to try to write a treatise in a paragraph because the prosecutor, the next time round, can simply be asked, tell us, and there can be question and answer. All of this stuff can go out. I think by drafting this paragraph, we're stepping into a swamp, which may be outdated. I have to say I don't agree with it. And I think that the legislative authority, look at the last sentence, the legislative authority, I don't believe has that authority to appoint an alternative private counsel. I'm just saying this is absolutely unnecessary. And that's why I drafted what I drafted, to say, cut to the chase, talk to the prosecutor, get it from the circumstances on the space. I strongly object to this entire paragraph and its purpose.
Thank you, Bill. Others?
well,
Are there others?
my response to that is that we are hardly in a
Bob, go
swamp.
ahead. Bob, go-
We're hardly in a swamp here. This, there are, I think this is what, three or four sentences. I think as they now are devised, it's very clear in their intent, and in no way tells the prosecutor what he has to do at any point in time. It merely suggests, hey, how about if you do this? And if you don't want to do this, maybe we could do this over here. And the case that was cited as making this scheme illegal it doesn't obtain, and it particularly doesn't obtain once we put in the phrase about with the approval of the prosecuting attorney after the decision to advise the CRC in this way. No, in the alternative, the CAC, with the approval of the prosecuting attorney, may request that the legislative authority authorize. There's no prohibition against the legislative authority appointing counsel if the prosecuting attorney approves of it. That keeps everybody happy and on board, and it gives the prosecuting attorney the opportunity to recognize a conflict when it clearly presents itself. We shouldn't ignore it.
Okay, so I've got Paul and then Maureen.
Did everybody receive this email from Randy Gaylord?
Yes.
Yes,
He-
it
he's
went to the
telling
full
us that
commission.
He says the proposal is illegal, and you can read the rest of it. And according to Bill, I think we should probably not consider it number 4 at all.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Maureen?
Well, there's so many things to say here, but I can only comment that it seems like the prosecuting attorney in any position can deny there is a conflict of interest, which would make everything that comes after that pointless. So Randy didn't quite address conflict of interest in his email. He just said that the proposal is illegal.
Yeah. So I'd like to call on myself, if I may, a couple comments on this. One is, I believe Bill made a good point on the last sentence. I don't believe the legislative authority, and Bob, you and I talked about this. I don't believe the legislative authority has I'll call it the legislative, we'll call it the county council. They do not have the authority. I didn't want to say authority twice, to appoint outside counsel. That lies solely within the prosecuting attorney. And that's what the Island County case really speaks to. I believe that the reference to the Island County case that the prosecutor put forward, though, and the statement that this language is illegal, I don't agree with. And particularly if we were to change that last sentence to say, in the alternative, the CRC may request that the prosecuting attorney authorize, since they have the legal authority to do so, and the rest of the sentence, then I think this is absolutely sufficient. Also, I need to underscore the point that Bob just made in his, when he first read the full decision, not the one quote that was given to us by our prosecutor, but the later decision, which actually states that a conflict of interest is an issue that should be addressed. This is me summarizing in layman's terms, and it specifically cites that. And so I think we're in a situation where if we change that last sentence, this makes absolute sense. And I will say that this has arisen because several commissioners felt that had a concern, as did numerous members of the public, that a prosecuting attorney or his deputy attorney were advising the county council on a conflicting or alternative means to move forward at the same time as they were advising us. So they were advising two clients who were on two different sides of the issue at the same time. And I did write a lengthy email to Randy about that at that point in time, Bill, to your point, to just try and ask him, and was told that there wasn't necessarily a conflict. So I think this actually tees it up for the next commission to be able to have some insight into this with the prosecutor, whomever they may be at that point in time, before any conflict arises. Are there others? I'm toggling through on the side. I'm not seeing any hands.
Well,
Bob?
Kevin, I'll say this, having just read within the last hour, this 29-page opinion, I didn't see anything in there. It wasn't anything about the prosecuting attorney appointing outside counsel. It was all about whether or not the legislative authority could do it. And basically, this case said, no, you can't without the approval of the prosecuting attorney. It was all about it set out the way that the legislative authority passed a resolution about the hiring, and then funded the hiring, and then had to send that resolution to the Superior Court, which had to approve of the hiring as part of the process, the statutory process, and that ought not to be done in the absence of the approval of the prosecuting attorney. And so that's all I'm suggesting, is we just make sure that the prosecuting attorney is going along with it. And now what you do if the prosecuting attorney says, I'm not going to go along with it, and there's no there's no conflict of interest. In my mind, it then becomes a political matter rather than a legal matter. And, you know, it's a matter, are the people with you? So.
Okay, I have Tony and then Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know where we're going with this. It seems to me that the prosecuting attorney is our attorney, and they happen to be the attorney of the council as well. So what is the problem that we're trying to solve? If there's a problem that we're trying to solve, I don't see it. So why are we going through this legalese that many of us are not really in tune with what's going on with this? It seems to me that we should just drop it, go along with, and with all due respect, Bob, I know you're an attorney and I'm sure you're qualified to read the 29 pages. I'm not, and I appreciate your input, but it seems to me what Bill's suggestion is the way to go with this. There's no reason for us to spend any more time trying to tell the prosecuting attorney, even though he can tell, according to what I just heard Bob say, the prosecuting attorney could nullify all of this by just saying, you know what, there's no conflict of interest.
What I said.
That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay, I've got Bill and then Jane.
Having myself been special counsel for San Juan County, I need to describe the process. I was appointed by the prosecutor, not by the county council. The discussion between the prosecutor and the county council usually revolves around how much is this going to cost? Is this going to eat into my budget? Those are real decisions. But a special prosecutor is appointed by the prosecutor and is under oath. I've been under oath for years, not now, as a special deputy prosecutor, handling civil matters for the county. It's always under the prosecutor. It is never under the county council. And it's very simple, and it's up to the prosecutor entirely. I'll leave it there.
Jane.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment, and that is that these are recommendations that the CRC is making to county council. And so I believe we could expect that the prosecuting attorney would weigh in on these recommendations that are presented to county council and share his opinion on these recommendations at that point in time. So I don't know, we can debate on this until the cows come home, but these aren't ballot propositions. These are recommendations.
That's not correct. This is a ballot proposition.
I'm sorry, Jane. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jane. I'm sorry, I misunderstood your point earlier. This is actually being proposed as a ballot amendment, or ballot proposition that will be on the ballot next November.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, then I withdraw my comment.
On that.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, are there any others? Paul again.
I'd like to make a motion to remove section 4 in its entirety.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
Can we take the share screen down?
Yes, who was
Yeah.
the second? Who seconded that motion?
Tom Starr.
Okay.
Oops, got his camera on backwards. See my teddy bears? They're still there.
Okay, I'm gonna try and, sorry guys, my connection is a bit unstable, so I'll try and do the video for this. Any discussion? Okay, I have one point under discussion, which is I will be opposed to this motion. I think if on the previous language that was up, if we just remove legislative authority or the legislative body and put in prosecuting attorney, so that last sentence reads, in the alternative, we can go to the prosecuting attorney and ask permission to do this. That resolves everything and it's within the law, absolutely within the law. So I will be voting against this motion and hope that it fails. Bob.
I'll be voting against the motion because I don't think it's appropriate for us to stick our heads in the sand regarding these possible conflicts that come up. And anybody who I mean, I think if you're paying close attention, you're surely able to perceive the conflict of interest between the council, what it was doing, and us, and the possibility that the prosecuting attorney was talking to the council about what we were doing over here, and the council was developing alternative propositions which did not fully implement what we wanted to do, and then it ended up being harmful to what our ideas were. Although I won't say fatal. I mean, it's good that they did what they did rather than nothing happening. But surely you can see that there was a conflict there, and that it would have been a good thing for us to be advised by separate attorneys, even if there were separate attorneys within that same law firm.
Patty?
What about substituting Bill's language for the, if we take away the language that's part 4 and put the Bill's language in instead? But that isn't part of this motion.
That would be a friendly amendment. And so you can ask if somebody, if the maker of the motion and the second of the motion want to accept that as a friendly amendment. If not, then that would not be part of it.
Yeah, I'd like to ask that.
Am I the maker of the motion? Did
Paul
I?
is.
No, this motion is Paul.
Oh, this
was it
motion.
Paul?
This motion.
Do we have something from Bill that could substitute or assist that motion?
I sent it out to everybody earlier on Bill's behalf.
Bill sent it out to everybody already.
Oh, that's
Well, that's 2 of us then.
I just put it in the chat.
I can read it if it would help.
Let's go ahead, Bill.
Bill, is what I put in the chat?
Thank you,
Correct.
Sharon. Yes, you got it.
So do we have somebody reading that for us?
Well, you can read it in the chat.
I don't have access to the chat yet.
I'll read it. No later than its second regular meeting, the chair of the CRC will ask the prosecuting attorney to appear before the CRC and delineate the following: the nature and limits of the CRC's legal authority and the practices and procedures followed by the office of the prosecuting attorney in the event of a conflict of interest between county bodies or other authorities represented by that office.
I'll accept that as a friendly motion. We have a second.
Friendly amendment. Does Tom Starr, do you accept that?
Second.
Okay, so now the motion is changed to adoption of the language proposed by Bill Apple. Under discussion, any discussion? Bob?
I will say that I think that Bill's approach here is reasonable. I would vote for it if I didn't think that we already had a superior provision that has been drafted here. If we argue further about this provision and can't come to an agreement about it for one reason or another, I would probably be in favor of Bill's provision. It is better than not having anything. So I appreciate the fact that it was accepted as a friendly amendment, but I'm not yet prepared to vote for it.
Okay, any other discussion? I have one comment. Oh, go ahead, please, Dave. David?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one concern about the first sentence in terms of no later than the second regular meeting of the chair of the CRC. We were far behind the ball and able to make a decision like this at our second meeting. And I was wondering if there's some way we could drop that and say just the CRC may ask the prosecuting attorney. I'm not sure how that would fit into this motion here, but that is just a concern of mine. Thank you.
Other discussion? Bill?
The only reason I put the deadline in is to make sure it happened. No deadline would not be helpful.
Bob,
Bill, what if it were the
And then-
first meeting, the
no,
initial meeting?
Sorry, I didn't hear.
Bill, I was asking Bill whether it would do damage to his proposal if, rather than the second meeting, it were the first meeting.
I'll tell you what I did it. First place, it's no later than. They can
Right.
ask at the first meeting. There's no limitation there. They can ask before the first meeting if they want, because it's the chair's request. So I only wanted to put an outside time. I didn't put an inside time because inside could follow certification of the election. It's just to make sure it happens. I think the temptation to get into housekeeping details for the next one is just to make sure it happens. But we can't tell them when. Their organizational meeting has to happen, and they have to get underway. But I mean, I'm not married to this thing, but I think it's important to keep it flexible.
we go Jane and then Sharon, and then I'll come back to Bob.
One of the first presentations we received was from the prosecuting attorney within the first week or so of our forming. So it would just seem if there was some language that could accommodate his speaking to that or her speaking to that, whoever's the next prosecuting attorney at that time, speaking to it at the point that they're briefing the CRC on the process and procedures for the work. So, at such time that the prosecuting attorney briefs the CRC on the conduct of their business and process, that the prosecuting attorney speak to this issue.
Sharon?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the friendly amendment, the language that Bill is proposing, that would replace the entirety of paragraph 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we should clarify that in the motion. The original motion was to dismiss all of paragraph 4, vote it down. And then there was a friendly amendment to adopt this language, and I will add in place of paragraph 4. So that is the motion on the floor, and I want to clarify, Paul and Tom, is that your understanding of the motion on the floor?
Yes.
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 Okay. Bob?
I think it needs to be made clear that in this language that it is mandatory upon the chair to make this request, but not mandatory upon the prosecuting attorney to appear at all. It just says he'll ask the prosecuting attorney to appear. So the prosecuting attorney can say, "Thank you for the invitation. I'll be fishing that day."
We can't make the prosecutor do anything.
Thank you, Bill. Others? Tony?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was going to say what Bill just said, that there's no need to have any language in there that tells the prosecuting attorney what to do. Thank you.
Okay. Others under discussion? Tom?
I just have to say it. We are really in the weeds. Let's get back to our business, please.
Thank you very much, Tom. So I will call upon myself. I have 2 comments. One in response to Tom. I actually think this is our business because one of our jobs is to make sure that the next commission can be even more successful. And we had a lot of bumps in the beginning that were outside of our control. And so we're trying to address some of those. My second point is that while I appreciate the language that Bill is submitting, I don't believe it should be a proposition. I will vote against this, not because I don't support the language, but because a future commission can do this. This is not something that would be voted on a ballot measure. The previous language that was being put forward by Bob O'Connell, by Commissioner O'Connell, is more likened to a ballot measure. This language is just putting in there something that can happen. So I would say that this should go into our notes that we will be passing on to the next commission, and it does not need to be a ballot measure. I think this is a waste of a ballot measure. I think it's very important, but it doesn't need to be a ballot measure. So I will be voting against this motion because I don't believe it should be on the ballot.
Call for the motion.
I've got 2 more people, but okay, do a majority of the members support the calling of the question?
Well, I had my hand up to make a comment before that.
Sharon, he threw it out there. So do
Just
the
matter.
majority of the members calling of the question? I don't see a bunch of hands. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, I think I saw 3. Okay, so the motion
David
does not.
Dellendorf has his hand raised.
Okay, thank you, David.
What
Put
are we
you on the
doing?
list. So I've got Patty, Sharon, and then David.
Oh,
Patty, did
sorry.
you-
Yeah, I was going to comment on what you said, Kevin, about this being a ballot measure. I mean, the ballot measure that happened in 1, 2, and 3 is important on the ballot. And this is something else to be included on that ballot measure, but it just, I don't know, I got lost in the number 4 myself. And if I were voting on this as a person who didn't really know what it was all about, I thought I might have voted against it just because of number 4. So I think the first 3 things are very important to be on the ballot. And this is just something that's would be helpful. I don't know. That's all my comment.
Thank you. Sharon, and then David.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's been several weeks since we even had a meeting, and even more weeks since we were dealing with this problem head on. At the time we were dealing with it, it seemed to me that the majority of people on this CRC felt that there was a conflict of interest. So I just want to bring that back into our consciousness from several weeks ago. It did feel like there was, to us, like there was a conflict of interest. That's all.
Okay. Bob.
As we were considering this
Oh,
particular.
I'm sorry, Bob. Bob, I'm sorry. David Dellendorf was next.
Yeah.
David.
I actually thought we were voting on the calling of the question. That's why I raised my hand. And have we deviated now the discussion away from a vote on calling the question? Because that's what I thought we were doing.
It failed.
Did that fail?
There was not sufficient. Yes, there
Okay.
was not sufficient votes that I
Okay,
saw.
when
but
you-
I hope we're really close to having a vote.
Okay, well, let me make a comment then. My perception of this is that in a way, by putting language in there, any language in there to this effect, we are calling into question the competency of Randy Gaylord, the prosecuting attorney, to recognize when there's a conflict of interest and taking the appropriate steps to avoid that by things like appointing a special counsel or whatever you call it. I mean, I have reason to trust the prosecuting attorney today and in the future, if he's voted into office, that he will make the proper decision when there's a conflict of interest. And we are in effect saying, we don't trust him. We want to put in a provision here that requires him to do certain things. I think it's unnecessary to do anything, but I would vote in favor of Bill's language because I think Bill's language is concise enough that it's kind of a compromise between the two. But I just don't think it's necessary. I think we can leave it to the prosecuting attorney to do the right thing, and he will recognize, he should, and the prosecuting attorney would be incompetent if he didn't, that you have to avoid a conflict of interest, because if you don't avoid it, you open yourself up to challenges in the courts and all kinds of unnecessary expenses. So I just think it has to be left. It should be left to the prosecuting attorney. But I support Bill. I will vote in favor of Bill's because I think it would be a good compromise. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Bob, we're going to pause. We're not going to come to you. We're at time for public comment. And David, I just wanted to clarify one thing. You said future prosecutor, and I would say he or she as a future prosecutor. Just to clarify that. But let's go to public comment. And thank you all for being here this evening. If anybody cares to comment, please, if you can, turn on your video, but definitely unmute yourself and just let me know. Gordy, I see you, so let's go to you first. Thanks for being here, Gordy. And Gordy, thank you for the comments you provided to the commission as well.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess thank you for all your work and your service here. As a former freeholder and chair of the last CRC, we did sort of leave you with some direction. And I'd like to go over this thing. I understand and I see from the past meetings, I've reviewed quite a few of these meetings, and I see from the history here that you're really wrapped around the axle on this. When is the Charter Review Commission over? As Section 9 reads in the charter, there's 3 ways that anybody can put things on the ballot as an amendment. And the CRC can do it once they're elected, and they have one shot every, well, I guess every 10 years now, but this has been 2 shots within the last 5 years. But then the county council can always put something on by an ordinance or by a motion. They can put something on, and I believe that requires a public hearing. And any citizen can put something on the ballot to amend the charter through the initiative process. Now, the Section 9.11 makes a clear distinction between what is an amendment and what is a recommendation. There's 2 separate things. Okay, so one of the things that the last charter did, we specified a date, and that was that we would have an election in 2020. Now, the only other election coming up after that is the next election in November 2021. So any of your amendments that made it in time for that election made it on the ballot, and the council doesn't have any authority to go in and change that. They have to go straight to the auditor, present to the CC, and then go straight to the auditor without any amendments, without anything. Now that's what happened in this case, and that is the next November election, the one right after 2020, and that date 2020 is actually in Section 9. Okay, so then you get down to Section 9.2 when it talks about the term of office, and it's the shorter of one of these things. The final recommendations. Now, recommendations are not amendments. Recommendations are recommendations. Now, you can give those to the county council, and the county council can decide that they can forward them on to the auditor the way they are. They can, but they still have to have a public hearing on a recommendation, and that can be changed. And so I think where you are at this point is you can make recommendations, but this whole talk about you can put another group of amendments on the ballot, I don't think it's supported in the charter and the law the way it reads at all. And so I'm not an attorney, but as somebody that worked on the language originally as a freeholder, and we worked on it last time on the CRC, I'm giving you some legislative history, maybe some legislative intent that goes along with this Section 9. So you can take it or leave it, but I think that you may be wasting your time thinking you're going to be able to put new amendments straight to the ballot without going through the county council, without going through the hearing process, maybe they would even ignore them. I'd also like to make a couple of comments about just the general way that this has been approached by this CRC. I feel really, I guess, I feel that you're at a really big disadvantage because you can't be with each other in person. And I think that I understand the circumstances that have caused this, but I really think that it's been a big, you're working at a big disadvantage. And I know you probably realize that too, but getting a group dynamic in a group when you're in person is a whole different thing. It seems like after watching these tapes for the last meetings, you hardly know each other. Maybe you wouldn't even know each other if you met. So I feel bad that this is the way it had to go, but the preamble in the charter right now, the whole idea of this was to get greater control of county government by the people. And I see what you've done here. You've come out with a bunch of policy ideas and tried to put them in the charter. And I especially these boards that you have, the climate and the justice and equity boards, these are just putting obstacles in front of the people, between the people and the council. And I really think that sort of goes against the whole intent of what the charter was for. I mean, we have, I don't know, dozens of advisory boards in the county. They're not all in the charter. They're not all recognized. They don't have to be. The charter is a document that is for guidance, and it's a bare bones structural direction for the way the county should be run. It's not about policy. It's not about, I mean, we have a statement of shared values in the comprehensive plan. I spent years working on that too. This isn't the comprehensive plan. This is a document that has, it's supposed to be about governance. And it's silent on many issues. I agree that you guys think, well, it's silent. We have to put something in there. No, it's silent for a reason. It's silent because it was just a document that directs how county government should be run, and in a most efficient way. The one thing I would like to see is greater.
Gordy, if I could ask you to start wrapping it up, that would be great. I didn't put
Yeah,
a time
one more
limit on
thought.
public
One more
comment.
thought, then, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
I respectfully acknowledge that. But the transparency, I tried to find a lot of things online on the that I would try to. Randy's memos, for one, they're not up on your site, and I think they should be. I think that there's also some meetings I had to go. I was looking for a meeting that took place on May 31st on Memorial Day, and it's nowhere to be found on your site. I had to dig into and get public requests for those kind of things. And I really think there's a lot of things missing on the website that should be there in the spirit of transparency. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments, Gordy, and for your previous service. Any other members of the public who would care to comment this evening? Okay, seeing none, I will close public comment and we will go back to the motion on the table. And Bob, you had a comment.
Yes, my comment is that I plan to vote against this motion so that we can get back to the other possible provision. And I will say, Kevin, that in deference to your opinion in this regard, I have no problem with changing that last sentence to the prosecuting attorney rather than the legislative authority, even though that's really not what the case that was cited was about. I've got no problem with doing that. After all, it does follow what Bill Apple said was the tradition of the prosecuting attorney appointing special counsel if one is needed. That's all.
Okay. Erica Ann, hang on just 1 second. It seems like you may be having trouble and you're unable to unmute for public comment. If you want to go ahead and write your comments into chat, we can acknowledge those. If it's, if you can do that, that would be great. You'd like to yield your time to Gordy. I think Gordy has made his point. And we generally don't do that. But if you had a comment you wanted to put into chat, that would be wonderful. And Gordy said that he had covered all of his points. So are there any other members of the public who care to comment at this point? Okay, we will keep comment closed. And then Bob, was that your final point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Okay, so
call the
then,
question. Would that be appropriate to call the question?
That would be wonderful. And so let's repeat, and Dick Grout has joined us. So thank you, Commissioner Grout. Glad you're able to make it. So the question before us, the motion before us is the language that was proposed by Bill Apple as a proposition that would go on the ballot in 2022. And could somebody read that language again?
It's in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, just go back. I think we've had sufficient time with this. Bill, it's okay. It's okay. I think we've had sufficient time with this. So why don't we call the question? And if you could physically raise your hand. So the question is in favor of adopting Bill Apple's language and disapproving the language proposed or this would replace number 4 that was originally proposed by Commissioner O'Connell.
Wait,
Okay.
Kevin, are we first voting on calling the question?
No, we're doing the question right now. We
Okay,
voted on
all
calling
right.
the question to go. So now this is the actual motion that's on the table, okay, or on the floor. So the motion before us is to adopt Bill Apple's language. Everybody understands the motion? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand, physically raise your hand if you can. David, I see your thumb. So I've got 1, 2, hang on guys, I'm gonna write them just to be sure. I've got Patty. I've got Bill. Bill supports his own language. I've got Paul.
Right.
I've got Jane. I've got Janet. And I've got David Dellendorf, and I've got Tom. Did I miss anybody? Tony, did you vote?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you for asking. I'm going to abstain.
Okay, great. Okay, so let me read them out. I've got Patty, Bill, Paul, Jane, Janet, David, Tom. Did I miss anybody? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The motion fails.
Well,
Okay. Pardon me?
Why does
Okay,
it
all
fail?
those, sorry. Yes, you're correct. So that is in favor. All those opposed? Sorry, all those opposed? I've got Sharon. I'm sorry to call it early like that. Maureen. Bob. Liz. Dick. And Kevin. I've got Sharon, Maureen, Bob, Liz, Dick, Kevin opposed. Okay, all those abstaining. Abstentions? I've got Tony and I've got Dave. Any other abstentions? Okay, I believe the motion still fails because we do not have a majority to pass it.
Okay, I'm changing my vote,
Tony,
Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Changing my vote to
you'd like to change
approve.
your. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's still, we need 9 is a majority. We have 8. So the motion still fails.
Mr. Chair, can I ask for a recount, please? Because if one abstained and there are 8 in favor, that means there are.
We have people absent here this evening. We have people absent this evening. So here's who I have voting in favor. Patty, Bill, Paul, Jane, Janet, David, Tom, and Tony. That's
Mr.
8.
Chair, give us the numbers, yes. And how many abstained? There's 1. And how many opposed?
Dave, and then Sharon, Maureen, Bob, Liz, Dick, and Kevin opposed. So
And what's the
majority of the
number?
members present. Pardon me?
So the majority of members present passed the motion.
I believe for motions to be on the, I believe by our rules, it needs to be a majority of the commission. So 9 members.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I hate to be Mr. Chair, let me just say, on May 31st, ranked choice voting passed by the majority of the people present to move forward. And that vote was 8, 4, and 2 abstentions. I would recommend, if you want to have a majority of the voters present to pass something forward or not, I would recommend to make sure that that happens as well today.
Tony, I was not aware that we did ranked choice voting with 8 members. Oh, I must have been aware at the time, but I thought there are rules. I am not perfect, so I could be mistaken here. So If we passed something previously with a majority of the members present, then that would hold today as well. So your point is well made if that's the case. I just didn't remember it that way. And I thought that our rules all along were that a majority of the commission had to put something on the ballot.
You're mistaken, Kevin.
And so
I do prefer that, Mr. Chair. I do prefer that the majority of the commission, but in the past, we've already done a mistake in the past. There's no reason for us to change that right now and make this thing not pass.
So let me be clear, Tony. If that's the case, that we did it previously, then it should hold true tonight as well. I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that I was not aware of, or that was not my recollection of that. If that's the case, then the motion passes.
There's certainly a
I'm not-
quorum present. As long as there's a quorum present, you have an actionable body.
I move
Yeah.
unanimous passage of this piece that Bill has introduced. And I will vote for it.
Well, if you're voting for it, Bob, then that's 9 votes and it doesn't matter anyway. And Tony, to your point earlier, I apologize if my recollection was incorrect. I understood that our rules were a majority of the commission to put something on the ballot. So I
We've been
stand
voting for-
corrected.
Yes, we've been voting for 9 months and it hasn't been that way all along. So I don't know where you've been, Kevin.
Paul, thank you for your derogatory comment. I'm not in the mood for it right
Well,
now.
I mean,
All
here
I'm
we
saying
are.
is that-
That's the way it's been the whole time.
Thank you for sharing. My recollection is there, what Tony is saying is there was 1 vote, so not all the time, but thank you, Paul. So if Commissioner O'Connell changes his vote, the motion passes regardless. So let's just say the motion passed.
Can you just repeat the final count for in favor, opposed, and abstentions, please?
Yes, I will. So in favor, Patty, Bill, Paul, Jane, Janet, David, Tom, Tony, and Bob. Opposed, Sharon, Maureen, Bob, Liz, Dick, Kevin. 1
No
abstention.
longer
Dave
opposed.
Anderson.
Take my name off of.
Oh, I'm
opposed
sorry.
now.
Yes, sorry.
Please
Yes.
put numbers on those counts.
We just did.
5.
Okay, there it is. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the agenda. We're going to recommendations. I hope that everybody had a chance to see the recommendations and go through them. They're your recommendations. So what I would like to ask in the remaining 42 minutes that we have, or 52 minutes that we have, is that we go through the recommendations. And I would ask that the people who were the leads on those recommendations take the lead on explaining them to the commission.
Kevin, should we just go in the order of that Maureen or someone sent out this kind of Cliff Note version? Can we just go in the order?
Yeah.
Can we put them up?
Who was going to share that? Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And we talked before the meeting. Catherine, were you able to share it? I can't remember who was going to share that.
Are you able to see that on the screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so who's the lead on the first one? That's number 1 is justice and equity. So Jane, do you want to speak to these?
Yeah, I can speak to the first two. And so, Mr. Chair, do you want me to try and bring up screen view on the actual text of the recommendations one by one?
Can we go off this? That's already up?
Unless Catherine is able to do the screen share.
The actual text would be better.
Catherine, would you like me to go ahead, or would you like to screen share on the first recommendation?
Yeah, go ahead, Jane. I'll keep this one in reserve for the future.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Bear with me, please. Sorry, I have to try and find the actual. And as usual, I have problems doing this sometimes.
Is there not a way to put the actual ones on the screen?
That's what I'm trying to do right now, actually. I'm trying to locate it. I apologize.
I can share the screen if you want, Jane.
Please, if you could, Sharon. I'm sorry.
This is the Justice and Equity Commission one.
Yes, yes. My apologies. I thought I had to be able to do that. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon, are you able to find it?
Oh, sorry. For some reason I keep my PDFs that I have open to show up, so I'm trying to see if I can do that. Oh boy. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I can do it. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I have it. Ah.
Oh, and I just
There it
found it
is.
as well.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. All right. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, so probably a first important point to make about this is that, and Sharon, I will need you to scroll down as I move through it. But the first, probably most important point to make about this is that this recommendation, will go to the county council if the ballot proposition concerning the Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Commission is actually voted for by majority of the electorate. Sharon, can you mute your microphone just because we can hear you typing?
Sorry. Okay.
Thank you. So what this recommendation does is outline proposed functions and tasks for the Justice, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, because details of this nature are not included in the ballot proposition itself. So what this sort of, the paragraph on this finding at the beginning here talks about the functions and tasks that were developed by the CRC based on information obtained through research and interviews conducted by the Subcommittee on Justice and Equity. And these functions and tasks are being put forward and proposed to the County Council for adoption if this commission comes into existence, so that the County Council's resolution number 31, 2020, affirming the county's commitment to a safe and inclusive community, can actually be brought to life, so to speak, can actually be implemented, and with the involvement of both residents of the county as well as county officials responsible for implementing this resolution. So Sharon, if you can bring up the functions there. There are 7 functions that are proposed, labeled A through G. The first one relates to the establishment of a 4-year strategic plan that includes a mission and vision statement, goals, objectives, expected results, and that it would be updated based on a review, external review every 4 years. That the commission meet at least once every 2 months and conduct open public meetings with agendas during which minutes are taken and posted on the county website upon approval by the commission. That there be a dedicated page on the website where updated information about the work of the commission can be posted. That annually a results-based work plan is approved that aligns with the 4-year strategic plan. Annual reports are prepared by this commission and presented to the council and made available to the public. Sharon, if you can scroll down. A budget would be received each year for this commission to conduct its business, and administrative support from the county government would be provided, and that additional funds could be obtained by this commission through grant writing and donations, and that the commission make an effort to create awareness within the county government as well as within the community about its work. So those are the proposed 7 functions, and then the tasks relate to undertaking, the first one is undertaking an initial community-based multi-stakeholder assessment of issues and concerns related to discrimination and inequity, inequality, exclusion, and racism within the county in the first year of its establishment. The idea being that that would inform the development of a strategic plan as well as the first year annual work plan of the commission. That the commission review of county resolutions and ordinances on an ongoing basis to ensure these principles are upheld. The principles as written in resolution number 31, 2020. That the commission liaise periodically with the following county entities on issues of justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and the implementation of the resolution. And those entities would be the judicial branch of the government, the PA's office, Civil Service Council of the Sheriff's Office, Law and Justice Council, and the Office of the Sheriff itself. That the commission conducts semi-annual facilitated consultations with diverse communities in the county to discuss its work and the performance of the county in implementing the resolution 31, 2020, and that it brings recommendations to the council on those based on those consultations and what is derived from them. That it serve as a public body that community members can communicate with in writing and in person about ongoing issues of racism, discrimination, et cetera, that may arise in the functioning of the government and or within the community. That the commission initiate a review of all place names in the county, including land, bodies of water, and roads, to further the restoration of original Indigenous names in the first year of its establishment. And that this work be done in close consultation with Indigenous peoples in the area, and a timeline for completion of this work will be determined by the commission, which is just what is at the top of page 3 that you can't see right there. So I should also just remind you that this recommendation is actually being, sorry, that's just the text of the proposition itself, Sharon, so you don't need to delve into that. I think we can go off screen share now. Thank you. And I just wanted to remind you that the text that is included in these tasks and functions is very much what was presented to you back on May 31st in terms of what this commission would do. And I believe it was in that, and Tony, I didn't know you were a Man U fan. Go, oh, okay, that's excellent. I like you even more now. Okay, sorry, just kidding, I diverged. Just to remind you that we actually did go through what some proposed tasks and functions for this commission would be back in late May. And during that meeting, there was the opportunity for you to share with the Subcommittee on Justice and Equity some comments on the findings on the proposed tasks and functions. And so we took that into consideration in putting this recommendation together. And we also, as you will remember as well, we took your comments into consideration as we drafted the actual ballot proposition itself, the proposed amendment. So I just want to give you a nod, commissioners, that indeed we took stock of your inputs on what this body might do. And that is how this recommendation was drafted by our Subcommittee on Justice and Equity. So with that, I will finish. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, do you want to put a motion on the table that we move this recommendation forward?
Yes, I would like to put a motion to the CRC that we adopt this recommendation for presentation to County Council.
Second. Me.
Janet
I'll
Burnell, second. Okay, there's a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion? Jane, thank you for your thorough explanation. I see no discussion. I will call the question. All those in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Any opposed, Paul? Any other opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, I see. I think I see Tony's hand. It turns red with the Manchester flag. But I think Tony and Tom are both abstaining.
That's correct.
So the
Thank you.
motion carries. Okay, the motion carries. That is adopted. Okay, let's go back to the next recommendation.
Okay, I want to make sure that this one is, it may be in, yeah, Sharon, are you able to share the next one? I apologize. It's on.
Miscellaneous appointments. It goes.
Yeah, miscellaneous appointments 2.60.
Are you doing that, Jane?
I need Sharon to do it if she's able.
Here, like,
Yeah, I think I can do it. Give me a sec. I think so.
I thought Paul was.
Dave,
Dave.
Hang on, Dave. Do you have it in front of you? Can you do it? Okay,
I
Sharon's
do.
sharing it.
It's there.
Dave, do you want to speak to it?
Sure. Is this Sharon or me? That's Sharon. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to do it. The governance committee heard a lot of concern that the appointing and the finding people who serve on our commissions, committees, and boards are not vetted enough, and the process is not transparent enough. So we came up with some recommendations to the council to kind of fill in to make sure that there is a process working in the county and that there's transparency and people are informed as the process goes forward. The recommendations that we are CRC are hopefully approving today are that we disclose applicants to the public prior to the county council meeting by including the names and the corresponding board, committee, or commission in the meeting agenda. We are seeking to help deliberating and voting in a public session on all applications to boards, committees, and commissions, except as otherwise provided by the Home Rule Charter. We are notifying all applicants, including those not appointed, in writing of the county's council's decision in a timely manner, and providing appropriate education and training of all applicants regarding their duties, responsibilities, including matters of justice, equity, inclusion, and diversity as consistent. Let me flip it over here. As consistent with the charter and the San Juan County Resolution 31, 2020, including representation from Coast Salish tribes who may not be resident of the county. Thank you.
Okay. Can we stop screen share, please? Okay. Dave or somebody, do you want to put a motion on the table?
I move we adopt this recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jane seconds. Okay. Under discussion. Any discussion? Another thorough presentation. Okay, I'm seeing no discussion. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Please raise your hand. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Any abstentions? I see Tony and Paul and Tom as abstentions. Okay, the motion carries. That one is adopted. Thank you.
Okay, that was, can I just double check? That was how many in favor, and I think none opposed?
Good. 10 opposed, 10 in favor. 10 in favor is by my count. And then 0 opposed and 3 abstentions.
What's that?
Okay.
Well, they're on the 445.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
So
Dave, can you please mute yourself?
that's to be determined, I guess.
Catherine, can you mute David? Okay. So can we move on to the next one, please?
I think it's the tourism thing.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. Can
we
someone
need to
share
put
a
it-
screen on that?
Yeah. if someone can-
Janet, if you can explain it, that's fine. But sharing screen is better for the public who may not have seen
Okay.
it before too.
Dave, do you have it?
I could get it quickly here.
Let me know if you want me to bring it up because I probably have it up.
If you have it, grab it.
Whoever gets there first.
Which one is this? Personnel?
No.
Tourism.
Tourism.
Oh, tourism. Ah, I got out of that one already. See if I can get it back.
Is it there?
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Yay.
Did you have it?
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, okay.
So it's a single recommendation with 3 parts. And the first part is to get on with creating a tourism management plan. There's money allocated for this. And I think the council is putting out an RFP, so this is kind of already happening. But one of the things that we also recommend is that it not just be a, people talking about tourism, but also getting some metrics involved with this, the impact of tourism in the county, so that that's part of the management plan. And as a sidebar to this, I was watching the county council meeting this week, and they were talking about the management plan and possibly how it can be incorporated into the comp plan. So they are thinking about the impact of tourism as we speak. The next part of this is to move an external, you want to move down to 2?
Oops, sorry about that.
The external entity for promotion and bring it into the county. The county really needs to be responsible for promotion of tourism. They've been relying on an outside entity for many years. And as tourism is now becoming more impactful in the county, it is our recommendation that the county government include this within the county government, that promotion be included within the county government, which is also under the RCW for lodging tax funds. So there is money to fund this. And the, anyhow,
Are you ready for
hopefully,
3?
yeah, I'm ready for 3. Hopefully,
Okay.
once the promotion within the county is brought under the auspices of the county government, there will be a reduction in the amount of dollars spent on promotion, and that our recommendation is that the county council should increase the spending of lodging tax towards seasonal worker housing and the protection and maintenance of existing tourism infrastructure, such as county parks. So it's 1 recommendation, 3 parts.
If
Okay,
I'd like, if I may add to that, Mr. Chairman, I had a good conversation today with Angela Broderick, who is the environmental steward, and she said that she is in charge of directing this for the county. And she seems like she's had 15 years of nonprofit experience. So it looks like this is a recommendation that they've seen coming, and it's hopefully helping lead the county in this direction. So thank you.
Great. Can we stop screen share, please?
Yep.
Janet, would you like to put a motion on the table?
Yes, I move that we accept this recommendation regarding tourism.
Is
Second.
there a second?
Second it.
Dave seconded. Okay, so Janet put the motion on the table. Dave seconded. Okay, discussion. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor? Okay, I have Patty, Dick, David, Bob, Jane, Dave, Janet, Liz, and Kevin. Did I miss anybody? So let me,
David Delador?
2. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's put your hands up again, please.
You did have a hand up. David Delendorf, are you voting or not voting for this?
I'm voting yes. I have my
Okay.
thumbs up. Or at least I did.
1, 2, 3.
Not there.
Janet, did you vote yes? I mean, Maureen. Maureen, did you vote yes on this?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. I'm just checking. So, sorry guys, I'm gonna write them down. Just give me 1 sec. You can put your hand down when I call. So Dave Anderson, Janet, Liz, Sharon, Jane, were you yes on this?
Yep.
Yes, that's what I thought. Jane, Bob, Dick, David, and Patty, and Kevin. Did I miss anybody? Okay. All those opposed? David, could you mute yourself? Thank you. All those opposed, please? Tom? Maureen? Bill? Paul? Am I missing anybody? I have Tom, Maureen, Bill, and Paul. Okay. All those abstaining.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I say I totally agree with the proposed language. I'm abstaining from the vote.
That's okay. That don't need an explanation, but thank you for it. Okay, so I have 1 abstention, 4 opposition, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Motion carries. Okay, thank you for your work on that. All right, can we move on to the next one, please?
Public records. Can you put that up, Sharon, please?
Yes, 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Mylene, while we're pulling this up, I will save time for you at the end. Mylene wants to speak to us on a subject. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Let's power through the.
Okay, this will go very fast. Public records is pretty direct. It's a request for the council to make public records more accessible to the public. The county has been involved in spending money, their own money, grant money, staff time and other time to develop the scanning of records, particularly in the county council and particularly in the community development and planning. And they have failed to get those records online. The public has asked repeatedly for help with finding things. If records were online, and I mean records that are able to be online and in compliance with the regular retention schedules of things that go online, the citizens would be a lot happier. This is about transparency, and the county has failed to do something that I was involved in way back and other people have been involved with. So the request to the council is to get it together and get the records made available online. That's it.
Wonderful. Can we stop screen share, please? Okay. Are you ready to put a motion on the table?
I move that we move that we put this records issue on up for a vote.
Second.
You move the recommendation forward to the county council.
Thank you.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Just a second.
Bob?
Bob did, yeah.
Thank you.
Bob did. Okay, good. All right. So any discussion? Yes,
Yes.
Tom, please.
Well, I just,
Dave,
I would like to, if the committee has some idea of what the cost is. Is this a whole new computer system? What's the magnitude of cost? $1,000 or $100,000 a year?
You're asking me?
No, somebody from the committee. I mean, just give us a feeling.
I'm the one who presented it. Tom, the county has already spent a lot of money in putting records together for online. They have an IT department. This is not rocket science. This can be done. And the software has been available. They've purchased software. There was some glitch that happened that they failed to get it on, and then they just dropped the ball. So it's up to them. And there's no dollar figure I can give you on it because all the parts are already in the county.
And
thank you,
Tom. With this being a recommendation, the county council will obviously do that review and come back. And if it's cost prohibitive, then they'll figure out another option, I'm sure. Dick, and
you just made my point.
Sorry. Oh, okay. And David Dellendorf.
Yeah, I don't see the exact language in front of me right now, but the second paragraph starts out with something like the county council will adopt the following language in the county charter. And I don't think they can do that. They can't, the county council can't put anything, amend,
I
add
don't
or
know what you're
subtract.
reading from, David, but that's
But
not
show me,
part
could
of
you,
this recommendation.
could you show me could you put it up again, please?
Can we do the screen share again, please?
Hold on a sec, I'll get back. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Hang on a
It's the
second, screen
first
share.
sentence of the second paragraph, I believe.
Oh, hold on, I gotta. Okay, let me go. All right, so this is where we want to go. Okay, is that good?
Okay, it says
Yeah,
the
thank you.
CRC recommends that the council adopt the following language in the county charter. So it's not in the county charter today because this is a recommendation, I believe. This is not
Okay, that's
an
all.
amendment.
Thank you, David. Your point is well taken. That is language that went when it was proposed as an amendment to the charter. So that can just be taken out. This is a recommendation to the council. And thank you, because we can correct that easily.
Okay.
Okay. So the maker of the motion and the second of the motion, somebody need, David, would you put that forward as a friendly amendment that would be changed, we would change that language in the language that was presented?
Okay, the friendly amendment would be that we strike the lead in to the second paragraph, but I don't know if that changes any of the other wording or requires a changing of any other wording. Perhaps there should be a different introduction.
Well, I don't believe it does. I think you can simply delete the reference.
Yeah, that's all we need to do. It's just a recommendation.
Okay, that's my
So
friendly
Dave-
amendment.
Thank you.
Okay, so the maker and the second, so Maureen and Bob accept that friendly amendment?
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion on the table, is the amended language. Any other comments under discussion? Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Bill Apple is in opposition. Any abstentions? One abstention, Tony Gazelle. Chair votes aye, motion carries.
Okay, what was David Dellendorf's vote? I saw a thumb up and a raised hand, and I don't know if he was voting.
I was voting yes.
I counted yes. Okay,
Okay, please
Good.
give me the final numbers on those votes.
can you raise your hands again, please? All those in favor?
Yes.
Yeah, I got you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention.
Thank you.
I counted 13, but
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? No, I think I missed Dick. So I think it is 13 in favor.
Yeah,
13 in
thank you.
favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention. Yeah, thank you, Maureen.
thank you.
Okay, can we go to the next one?
Election observation.
Who's the lead on that? Is that you, Tom?
I will.
Okay. Can somebody share the screen, please?
You want me to share my screen?
Please.
That'd be good.
That would be wonderful, Karen.
I don't know how to do it.
You and me, buddy.
Okay.
Well, just a little background on this. The state has a law that says that basically the elections process shall be open. It's WAC 434, 250, 110. And our folks in elections do their best to interpret what that means. But they need a little more definition. And they schedule the counting days, they schedule the pickup days, but then those things change and we don't get notice. So this puts a little more formality on it. And as you can see, the county chair of each major political party is going to get notified the time and date on which processing shall begin. And we just got the 4 days that are upcoming in the next election. So that's happening. But there are some areas that need improvement. We need at least an hour's notice to respond to any changes. For example, the Lopez pickup. We have a party that goes there to observe that, but sometimes the people don't show up to unload the box. So there's some refinements that need to be made, and we felt that this language here just adds some more specificity and is not too unreasonable. And I want to make sure that it's not taken as a criticism of Camelin and the county staff. They do their best. They have changes. They have things that happen. But we think that this will help streamline it, and we hope you pass it.
Thank you very much, Tom. Okay, can we stop screen share? Okay, Tom, do you want to put a motion on the table?
Yeah, I'll move our election subcommittee recommendation as you saw it.
I'll second.
Okay. Who is the second? Sorry.
Paul.
Paul. Okay.
Who was
Tom
it?
put the motion on the table.
Paul.
Paul Dossett is the
Paul.
Paul. Yes. Paul. Okay. Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, and unlike the others, this is a motion to the auditor. I mean, a recommendation to the auditor and not the county council, just that clarification. Sharon, did you have a comment under discussion?
I do. And, you know, when I read this, I got a little bit triggered, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been a poll watcher in the past, and I have been harassed as a poll watcher. And I just want to say that I definitely am in favor of everybody being able to see the procedure, but I also would like to do something to safeguard that the people responsible for collecting the ballots are not feeling harassed or intimidated.
Okay.
And I have
think that is
some
actually
proposed. Go ahead.
Okay, well, if you have proposed language, if that's what you were going to say, that would have to be a friendly amendment. But the other thing is, as far as protection of poll of folks, like you were saying, that is actually protected, I believe, under state and federal law as well. But we can touch on that later. But you make a very important point, Dick.
Yeah, I'm going to vote against this, and I just want to explain so I'm not misunderstood. It's primarily the open to all parties that bothers me. I don't want to see Florida in whatever year that was in the hanging chads and all that, and the people banging on the glass. I think it has to be much more controlled than that. So I'm going to vote against this.
Okay, Liz.
Just wondered if there was, from Dick and myself, because that was my concern as well, if there's friendly amendment language that we could put together quickly in terms of, you know, representatives from appropriate parties or something. Because I will vote against it for the same reason.
Okay. Other discussion? Does anybody want to put a friendly amendment on the floor?
Sharon?
Okay, let me just, I'm going to propose this as a friendly amendment, and we could take it from there. I would propose adding as a friendly amendment, the activity of these observers shall be limited to taking notes and submitting written commentary at a later time. Anything beyond this shall be considered harassment of election workers, and the CRC encourages the county council.
Sorry, continue.
What was that?
I said, please continue, sorry.
And the CRC encourages the county council to enact legislation, which I guess we already have, to strongly discourage harassment of election workers if such harassment is not already covered by current statutes.
Okay. We're gonna need that written, I believe, but the gist is there. So
I'll put it
Tom and
in the
Paul,
chat too.
thank you very much, Sharon. Tom
in
and
the
Paul,
chat.
would you consider that? Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I think I would, yes.
I'll accept it.
Okay. This would be a new paragraph at the bottom, I believe. Is that how you're perceiving it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. Any other, yes, I have David Dellendorf.
As to the provision that it says it's open to all parties, I think I'd like to make a friendly amendment that says open to a representative, one representative of each of the major parties plus one for independents or something to that effect. There's limited space in that room, and I've been there. It's very limited space, and all parties opens the door to legitimate overcrowding, but also to harassment. And I think it has to be limited in some way, and it could be independent representatives, one of each major party, but then you get to the definition of what is a major party. So there has to be some provision for an expansive interpretation of that. And I don't know, you could have it be representatives of each party who has a candidate on the ballot. Because it doesn't make sense to give observation status to XYZ party if XYZ party doesn't even have a dog in the race. So maybe it'd be one representative of each party that has a candidate on the ballot, something of that nature. That's not a perfect,
Okay,
and I'm not
I've got
proposing that language, but something to that effect. And other people should chime in, and maybe we can get a better definition of that amendment.
I've got Sharon and Dick and Tom.
Yeah, just to say it doesn't work to say the major parties. It might be okay to say, a representative of each party that has a candidate on the ballot.
Okay, Dick and Tom and Bob.
The last few comments to me indicate this is exactly what the problem is trying to define this in any sensible way. The incidence of election fraud in this country is incredibly low, despite all the crap you hear and read. The facts are it is incredibly low. I think this is misguided, and I'm still going to vote against it.
Dick, okay, Tom and then Bob, and then I'll call on myself.
The party chairs just received the notice of the election and the details as far as poll watching. And it pretty clearly says that, at least as far as San Juan County's policy goes, it does limit the observers to one from each party, it says. And recognizing that the space in there to even stand and observe it in this little old former house is very limited. So there are reasonable policies occurring right now. And we didn't feel that we needed to go into all those other details, but I hear what people are saying, and I especially support the one about any kind of harassment or anything like that. But maybe that needs to be worked up and we can approve it next meeting.
Well, I think the language that was accepted as a friendly amendment addresses that, but others can chime in. Bob?
I feel like I'm maybe missing something. Why are we looking at this through 19th century bifocals? Don't we have technology which would allow us to put on camera everything that is happening in that room and to blast it out to the whole world?
Can I answer that?
Simple. Sure.
Tom?
I tried observing it through the streaming a couple of times. And it's like watching paint dry. The camera is up in the corner of the room. You have no idea what they are doing, and there's no audio. And so this is an issue. This is an issue that we're taking up with the auditor, but we didn't feel it was necessary to go into that kind of detail here.
Okay, I'm going to call upon myself. I just want to say that I think that our auditor, Mylene Henley, and particularly the elections division, as Tom said, are doing an outstanding job. And I think that this language, as is presented with the friendly amendment that was put forward, is guidance to them they can move forward with. And that's what a recommendation is. But I think that, you know, the auditor's on right now. She's hearing all of this. I've spoken to her about this subject before. They're doing a great job, and this guidance will be helpful, as is. Jane.
Yeah, I mean, I would support this recommendation. It's just a bit of a comment to say, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, if we've had election fraud in the county, maybe there's a problem. If we haven't had election fraud, then maybe procedures are going okay. But anyway, I mean, I support where Tom and also where Sharon are going on this, but it's just like, I don't know, just putting it back at y'all. That's all.
Okay. Any more discussion, or can we move forward with the vote?
Can I raise my hand?
Oh, I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to respond to a couple of things that have said, like Dick Grout. One of the reasons why we don't have a fraud in this country is because we have an election observer. I mean, there's a whole system in place, and we're talking about one small element of that system that is the reason why we don't have election fraud. If we didn't have observers in election rooms, imagine the conspiracy theories that would be flowing around about stealing elections. And even now we have
there anyway.
They're there even with election observers. And I got to say that the charter is going to have a life of hundreds of years, maybe, until the Yellowstone volcano blows up again. And so we're not just talking about the past and the current election officials. We're talking long term. And so we need to have something in there that deals with this issue. And, you know, given the environment that's been created by someone whose name I will not mention in the United States right now, which is trying to tear down confidence in our election process and democracy in general, this is very appropriate to have in there. If you were in a precinct in Texas and you were trying to limit the election observers in some precinct or some county, oh my God, can you imagine a conspiracy theorists, what they would be saying? But we're not there, we're here. And I just think we should adopt some language. And I totally agree with Tom, but I don't know where we are on the friendly amendments. I proposed a second one, but there was a first one, I believe. Did we vote on that one, or where are we on these friendly amendments?
So
Thank you.
The first friendly amendment was adopted. You did not propose a second friendly amendment. You suggested some vaguer language, but you didn't write it up. And then you said that you would wait for further discussion and maybe it would be added to.
Okay.
So right now there's a second friendly amendment on the floor.
Okay, was the first friendly amendment actually written up by Patty or whoever it was? It's been written up.
It's written up in the chat and it was adopted.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think I have the time and capability right now to draft the exact wording of a second amendment. If somebody would be amenable, well, I'll just say it instead of all.
David, we're going to need some sort of write up if you want to put a friendly amendment up, just so that we can have that language.
Okay.
Just say it, and I can type it and put it in the chat if you want.
Okay. So delete open to all parties, which I think is the language, whatever it is. Delete open to all parties and replace it by open to one representative of each of the parties that has a candidate of its party on the ballot. That's all. That's it. I don't think it needs to be any more complicated than that.
Okay, I have Patty's hand up. Actually, hang on, Patty, 1 second. I'm sorry. Do the maker of the original motion, so Tom and Paul, do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
I do not.
Well, the problem is that all these measures don't involve parties. A lot of them are nonpartisan. And there's other, like these propositions that are coming up, those are non-party. So there's a problem in specifying parties.
Okay, that's a very good point. Excellent point. And maybe I
So
could try to
Tom,
grasp.
David, hang on. So Tom, are you rejecting the friendly amendment then?
Well, yes, I am, because we can't limit it to
Okay.
just people representing the parties.
Understood. Thank you. Okay, so the friendly amendment is not adopted. Patty,
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that this is a recommendation. It's not an amendment. It's not going to go in the charter anywhere. I mean, that seemed like that was implied, but it's a
That's right.
recommendation. And yeah, it's good.
Gotta move along.
all right. Bill,
I think we can relax, just as it was said. This is a recommendation. The council is going to pick and choose. The auditor is going to pick and choose. It's their choice, not ours. We're simply giving them a shopping list. And I will say anything that increases confidence in elections is generally good, but it's got to be workable. And I think the auditor and the council in their various boxes can figure that out.
Call the question.
excellent. Thank you. I would love to call the question. Are we there?
Call the
Okay.
question.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm gonna write them down again. You can drop your hand when I say your name. Patty, Bob, Paul, Tom, Jane, Janet, Dave, David, Maureen, Sharon, Bill, and Kevin also votes aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Wait,
Dick
Grout opposed.
abstaining.
No,
Dick's
Dick Grout
abstaining.
opposed.
Dick, were you opposed or an abstention?
Opposed.
Opposed.
Opposed. Dick is opposed. Okay.
How many opposed?
One.
I'm getting there. I'm counting right now. It's 10. I have, oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12. 12 in favor, 1 opposed. Unless I missed somebody again. Did we lose somebody?
Tony?
Liz?
Abstention.
Liz, I didn't have you. Thank you.
I'm-
Liz, were you a yes?
I'm abstaining.
Oh,
Okay. So Liz, 1 abstention, 12 in favor,
No,
1
Tony's
opposed. The motion
Tony,
carried.
wasn't Tony also an abstention?
yes.
Liz and Tony abstain.
Yes,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair
so
did
much.
not call it. so I'm-
My bandwidth is going. Yeah, so abstentions was Tony. Yeah, sorry, guys, my bandwidth is in and out, so I think it froze there for a second. Okay. You've got that, Sharon? You've got the count? Motion carries.
Yes.
Okay,
Got it.
what's next?
Move.
Another
Community
recommendation?
Community values.
That's the process committee. Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, please. And if we could share screen?
To begin with, this recommendation has already been adopted by the entire Charter Review Commission on May 27th of this year. So I don't know whether further consideration is necessary or why we're doing it twice, but it's already been adopted.
If this one's already been adopted, then there's no further action necessary.
It's only 1 sentence long if people are interested in hearing what it is.
No, let's move on to the next one if it's already
Okay.
adopted.
It is. It has been. And it's to be implemented
It's good.
if the
all
community
good.
values are adopted themselves. Okay.
All good. We're moving on. Okay, next recommendation.
public access to county financial information.
Okay, who was the lead on that?
I think I was, Mr. Chair. May I share screen?
Please.
Let's see right there. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The recommendation basically is to make sure that financial information, budgetary information, and the process is put on the front page, the home page of the county website. We found it really difficult to find budget information, and I'd just like to read the first paragraph, if I may. Timely public access to current detailed financial information is essential to the proper functioning of democratic government institutions. The county's current 2021 biennial budget is difficult to locate on the website according to public feedback and to the Charter Review Commission. The current budget found on the website was only the preliminary budget, which may not be the final budget. The CRC was unable to locate any interim financial reports. So we recommend that the current budget and the future budgeting process be put on the front page directly. And with that, I call the question to put this recommendation to the council, I think the auditor, and also the technology IT department. Thank you.
So, and technically you're putting a motion on the table or motion on the floor to advance this.
Floor.
You're not calling the question, correct?
No, motion on the floor. Thank you.
Okay, so is there a second? Let's stop screen share, please. Okay, was there a second? Bill, were you seconding?
No, I had a question, but I'll
Okay.
wait for the second.
See if there-
I'll
Let's see, do we have a second? Patty seconds. Okay, Bill.
My question is, has this been run by the auditor and treasurer just so that they understand and the reality of actually carrying this out is practical?
Not to my knowledge, it has not. But it has been a recommendation that we've been discussing and presented here before, but it has not been vetted with them per se.
Oh dear.
Other comments under discussion? Other comments under discussion? Bob, Tom, Dick. God,
it
I
is-
thought we were getting off easy.
It is in the nature of a recommendation that that the auditor and other people concerned with them after they've received them are free to ignore them. For that reason, vetting them as ahead of time is an unnecessary waste of time.
Okay, Tom, and then Dick.
I think it was at a CRC meeting when they first started, the question of finding access to read about the budget was confusing when you dial up the website. And somebody told me about how to do it. And to them, it was simple, but to me, it was not very simple. So I think we're talking about a link early on somewhere, maybe on the first or second page of the website that you just click and away you go to the budget. We don't want the whole budget listed there.
There you go.
End of it. That's it.
Dick.
Bob and Tom have made my point.
Love that. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in
Could
favor
I-
of the motion?
I had my hand up.
Sorry, David, go ahead.
I didn't see I just saw the first paragraph. I didn't see on the screen share the second paragraph, which would contain the nitty gritty of what we're asking them to do, which hopefully addresses Tom's concern. Am I the only one who didn't see that continuation?
Yes.
It was sent to everybody before the meeting too. So you have it.
And
via
I
email.
remember seeing it then, but that was weeks ago. But
When it was sent today as well as a reminder.
well, if he showed the first paragraph, why can't he show the second paragraph? I mean,
I
come
saw
on.
it.
Okay, I didn't see it. I don't know why, but I'm in favor of it. I think I helped Dave draft it in the first place, but anyway.
You did, yeah.
But I would like to make sure it has things like Tom suggested about a simple link, and I think it does.
I think because this is a recommendation, well, first of all, the IT department is never going to support, and I don't think anybody who's wise putting the entire budget on the homepage of the county's website. That would be nuts. So it's obviously going to be some sort of link. But again, this is a recommendation. So there's an opportunity for the officials this is being recommended to think about how the best way to do it would be.
The recommendation says
Can we
homepage.
call? Okay. So can we call the question?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, 13. I see 13 in favor. Okay, all those opposed? Any abstentions? Bill and Tony abstain. Okay. There it is, motion carries. Do we have another recommendation?
Personnel system exemptions. I think
Okay.
that's justice and equity, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Can we share screen?
yeah, Dave Anderson, are you able? Oh, Sharon has. Okay. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, Sharon. So actually, this is something that both the subcommittee, Maureen, and I think Paul worked on the operations subcommittee and the Justice and Equity subcommittee sort of looked into and sort of scratched our heads around and asked questions about. We asked questions to the prosecuting attorney as well as the human resource department head, as well as the county manager as to, you know, the applicability of this exemptions clause and what it meant. And so anyway, long story short, there was 2 subcommittees of the CRC that looked into this issue. And we understand that in legal terms, elected officials are indeed exempt from sort of personnel system requirements. And so to our, you know, individuals who are appointed to councils or commissions or whatnot. However, it was felt strongly that something needs to be done to ensure that there's a standard of behavior and conduct that is that those individuals, as elected individuals and appointed individuals, are held to, and all other individuals who are exempt under this section 8.20. And so this recommendation is also in the spirit of that resolution we've referred to previously, 31/2020, in terms of ensuring that that there isn't discrimination against individuals that takes place in the conduct of elected officials and the conduct of appointed individuals to conduct county business, et cetera. So if we scroll down, and the first couple paragraphs is basically the background to what both of our subcommittees looked into and discussions we had with James Wolf, with Mike Thomas, and talking to the prosecuting attorney. And so let's move into the second page if we could. And so just again, just to reiterate the point here that the personnel system of the county government, it does not apply to elected officials and does not apply to any other exempt individuals identified in the charter. And that is consistent across county charters in this state, so there's no difference there. There is, however, in the case of Pierce County, there was some language that was found that our subcommittees, and in particular Justice and Equity Subcommittee, felt would be appropriate for the county council to at least be made aware of and to consider in taking some action that would perhaps in the form of county code or something that would adopt language that that holds these exempt individuals to to account with regard to non-discrimination, and that the county take responsibility to ensure that anyone working for the county in a paid or volunteer capacity, including on boards, commissions, committees, etc., treat each other and others equitably and with dignity and respect. So yeah, without reading all of what it says there, I'm sorry, I'm blathering on here, but yeah, basically that people should be treating one another with respect, irregardless of whether you are under the personnel system or not. And so the recommendation is that the county council take stock of this and find a way to ensure that this is how people behave in the conduct of county business.
Okay, can we stop screen share, please? Jane, would you like to put a motion on the table to move forward this recommendation?
I'd like to put a motion to all of you to adopt this recommendation related to exemptions under section 8.20 of the charter and present that to county council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a second? I'm sorry, was that Paul?
Yes.
Okay, Paul seconds. Okay, any discussion? Tom, and then Maureen.
Well, something that Jane just said, that the council should find a way to ensure that these goals are met. And I certainly agree, and I abhor any kind of behavior that would require policing. But what is the teeth here? Just the good judgment of the council or any other chair of any committee?
Okay.
Maybe Jane could respond to that.
Sure, thank you, Tom. Yeah, so I'm just going to refer back to the bottom of page 1 of the recommendation, okay? And so this was a bit of our reference point, if you will, and that is under the Pierce County Charter, Article 7, which is their personnel system section, okay? They have added the following clause related to the exemptions in this section, in the personnel section of the charter. And it states, I quote, "Exemptions provided by this section," that's the personnel section, "shall not limit the county's responsibility to fulfill its affirmative action and non-discrimination policies." Okay, so actually in the case of Pierce County, their charter does speak to upholding affirmative action and non-discrimination policies, okay, in their actual charter. And so that clause I just read is putting the onus on the county council to ensure that, or the county rather, not the council, the county, to ensure that non-discrimination practices are upheld across all employees, all individuals who are either paid or non-paid who work in the county government. So to your point, Tom, to your question, what we want to put to the county council is that they explore ways to ensure that this can happen. And they can't ensure it within the personnel manual because that doesn't apply to those who are exempt from it. But we are asking them to find ways to ensure that Resolution 31/2020 and the values stated within that resolution are applicable to all who work in the county. So I don't have a precise answer for you. It is something that we would ask our county council to deliberate with other county officials.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
Oh, really, really quickly. One of the good things about this for the county council, and one of the things we all learned when we were exploring this, there's nothing in writing at all about the behavior of boards, commissions, and committees. So this would be a first round sound piece of information that they too have to be held accountable for their behavior in that volunteer section. So I think it's really important, really, and it's a gift to the county.
Okay, great. So any other discussion? Okay, let's call the question. All those in favor? Okay, all those opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Tony abstains. Okay, motion carries with 1 abstention and no opposition.
Okay, so that was 14 in favor and 1 abstention?
Yes, right. So, do we have another recommendation?
County Law and Justice Council.
And this is the last one, and I'm sorry, Bob, you look tired.
I'm sorry. I should be more energetic.
No, not at all. I think we're all kind of feeling weary. But this one we've actually talked about before, so you'll be a little bit familiar with it already. Sorry?
I said, so a quick summary then.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair. Okay, so yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to lose my access to my internet in about, well, before 6:30. So I'm hoping we can end a little early.
Okay. So maybe I should ask, Mr. Chair, if everybody's familiar with this one already. Do you need me to speak?
I think for the public's sake as well, I think it'd be good if you just gave a very brief summary.
Okay, sure. So,
like 3.
yeah. Sorry?
Go ahead, just go ahead.
Okay, so this recommendation essentially is presenting 2 points to the county council that they are being asked to consider in county code, in a revision to county code. County code governs how this Law and Justice Council functions in our county. So there are 2 things that this recommendation is asking the county council to consider revising in county code related to this council. Number 1 is that there be resident member representation on this Law and Justice Council, which there is not presently. So the only individuals who sit on this Law and Justice Council are representatives of the county government and 1 representative of the Friday Harbor town. And that is in contrast with 4 other charter counties that have resident representation on their Law and Justice Council. So that is the first sort of request being put forward in this recommendation. The second is that the way in which this Law and Justice Council functions in terms of it becoming more formalized and it becoming more transparent and accountable to the residents of this county on the website, for example, that the processes, the procedures, and the functions of this body be tightened, so to speak, and that they begin doing things such as publishing agendas, publishing minutes of their meetings, and enabling the public to be aware of what they're doing and how they're operating, how they're deliberating, and so on and so forth. Insofar as they are able, because in some cases there are some matters of security that they deal with that would not be privy to the public viewing, so to speak. So that's basically it, is asking the council to look at representation and also the functioning.
Okay, let's stop screen share. Can you put a motion on the table, Jane?
I'd like to put a motion on the table that this recommendation be adopted by the CRC.
Second.
Janet is second. Okay. Is there any further discussion? Tom?
Yes, Jane, could the member be a reporter? I was on the Law and Justice Council years ago, and I don't recall there ever being any press there.
Okay, could the member be a reporter? I don't know any reason why they could not.
The way it is written, the answer would be yes. It doesn't talk about profession.
Okay.
So
I think the press would like that.
Other discussion.
So
okay, all those in favor.
Sorry,
okay.
but just to
Dave. I'm calling on Dave and then Jane.
Sure.
I'm sorry. I have a concern with the in terms of the tasks number 6, that the role of this, one of the roles for this commission is to initiate, review all places, names of current county, including land, bodies, water, to further restoration of the original indigenous names during the first years of the commission. It seems like that is having an agenda to rename places. I think I would prefer it that their job is to ensure that the names of our county reflect the values of our county and not restore original indigenous names. I think that's more fitting for what we're trying to do here.
Mr. Chair, we're talking about a different recommendation right now. Dave is referring to, Commissioner Anderson is referring to the recommendation we discussed at the beginning of the meeting.
I'm sorry, forgive me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one was already adopted, Dave.
I'm sorry,
So
never mind.
Jane, you
Thank
had a
you.
comment?
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to, I've kind of lost, I was gonna respond to Tom's point about a reporter being in attendance. I just wanted, or being the representative. Tom, the purpose of having a resident sit on this body would be to, it would be to have a resident voice, you know, not necessarily, so the idea is to have some kind of an exchange, you know, and not necessarily to just be the eyes and ears of the Law and Justice Council. It's really more to have, you know, some kind of interaction that is meaningful. That's kind of the purpose and intent there.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
On that point, I think we're going to find that it's probably a violation of journalistic ethics to be a part of the story that you're reporting on. Period.
Okay, let's move ahead here.
Okay, any other discussion? I call the question. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Dave and Bill abstain. Motion carries. Okay, that's the last recommendation, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Excellent work, team. Okay, let's quickly go to Mylene, and I may have to stop like in about 2 minutes because I have to get back
Do
to the
this in
hospital.
2 minutes.
So
I want to make a new business thing too. I think there's a couple of things. That have to come up.
So do I.
okay, so I'm gonna need.
Sorry.
All right, so stop, Mylene. Before you go, Maureen, can you take over as chair?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I hereby yield my duty. Bye-bye. Go ahead, Mylene.
Bye.
The county council, a couple weeks ago, I don't remember the exact date now, adopted a resolution that all county employees and volunteers have to be vaccinated for COVID. The purpose of this, of course, is to stop the spread of COVID in the community, not just with the people with whom you work, but also the people you meet in the grocery store or at the dog park or wherever you hang out. So since volunteers include you guys, because even though you're elected, you're not paid.
Don't we know it?
Right. And as well as all other boards, committees and commissions that work with the county, those groups were kind of divided up between people who offered to contact them and let them know about this requirement. Now, I'm the first to admit that you're kind of a strange group as far as this applies for 2 reasons. First of all, you are elected and, you know, theoretically, nobody can tell you what to do. And number 2, the group expires at the end of the year. Nonetheless, as a show of faith, I'm hoping that most of you would be willing to send a picture of your vaccination records to me at my email address, which is mylene.h@sanjuanco.com. If you prefer to send it to HR, you can certainly do so, but I have collected these for 2 other groups. And in case you're wondering, by the way, the vaccination record itself is not HIPAA protected because it is not no indication of a medical condition. And so this is becoming more and more common that employers, including governments, are requiring vaccination because we really want to stop this thing. So questions?
Looks
All
like
right.
that's it.
Yes, Patty.
What happens if you're not going to get vaccinated?
If you are not going to get vaccinated and you were an employee or a volunteer other than an elected official, by October 31st, that's how long we have until this goes into effect, then you would be removed from your commission or from employment.
Are there exceptions?
Yes, there are 2 narrow exceptions. One is for medical conditions, which we do require a note from your doctor. They don't have to say what the medical condition is, but just that there is a medical reason for you not to be vaccinated. And the other is a sincerely held religious belief. Again, that is narrowly construed according to state guidelines. So you can't just say, oh, I'm, a member of the Deep Woods Society. We don't believe in vaccinations. Bob.
I point out that I am all for the mandatory vaccination thing. I'm fully vaccinated and all of that. But I would also point out that this commission is very odd in its operation, in that it has no contact with the public whatsoever, or with each other for that matter.
That is true. And that's another reason you're an odd bunch. When the council was discussing this resolution, the question was raised, well, whether we should include volunteers at all. And the answer was, the decision was based on the fact that it's not just about who you are sitting next to or working with, whether remotely or personally. It is, again, about your contacts at the grocery store and the dog park and the Legion. We are trying to stop the spread of COVID in the community, and that requires being proactive. So yes, you meet virtually, and so you're not going to give it to each other, but you could give it to some schmuck at the grocery store.
So everyone's on their own to make sure that if you are able and willing you'll send your information to Mylene.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that all you wanted, Mylene?
That is all I needed.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thank you all for what you're doing.
Okay. We could discuss future meetings, but I would really prefer to have Kevin here for that. Are there thoughts there? Bill, you have something you want to offer?
I have an issue to raise that I need a response from the body from, but.
Is this like new business, or is this about,
what?
Is this new business, or is it about future meetings?
It's new business.
Can you hold on for a second while we finish this?
Certainly.
Okay, do people have, we're going to have to meet apparently. We still have a couple of loose ends to tie up. Kevin would say there's many more, but we certainly have to talk about a resolution and other things. So we are now probably out of September, and perhaps our next meeting might be the 6th of October. Is that a possibility? He had said before, like once a month or something to that effect. So I'm pushing this ahead, and I'm looking at October 6th. And I'm going to throw that out. If I see some thumbs up, that's good. And there'll be more information, but I don't see us meeting before then. Okay?
Dick and I will meet.
Okay. Well, we'll get to that and get to more. All right. So I'll tell Kevin that that's sort of what we're looking at. And if there's a change, you'll get an email. All right. New business. Bill, you want to go ahead now? Because we got two more to go.
I've had a request from a member of the public for copies of Randy's opinions concerning the second tranche. That is next year's propositions. My question is, because I don't know the answer, are those opinions public? And can I disseminate them, or are they attorney-client secret kept from the public?
It's a good question. And I think Randy spoke to this at some point.
Yes,
but Bob has something to say.
Yes, it has been determined by advice that they gave to us that this was attorney-client, that it was our choice if we wanted to let it out, but that overall, they more or less advised that we don't. So that's where we are.
I guess I'm asking this body to tell me what their decision is about those two opinions.
So, Richard, do you have a thought?
Yes, we actually voted on that, and we decided, and this is ages ago when Randy brought this all up, and we decided to keep everything as attorney-client privilege. And I don't want to start discussing one by one what kinds of things we're going to let go. We made that call.
Okay, well,
Maureen, can I make a comment as well, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and just to provide evidence of how that's worked, actually, we heard Gordy Peterson say that he had actually done a public records request for something that in the way of a memo that he wanted to look at. And he put in the chat that, put the PA's memos on the website. Well, we purposely did not do that for the reason that Dick just mentioned. We took a vote on it and we agreed that if Minor Lyle or anyone else wanted access to that they would go through public records. So as far as I'm concerned, public records request, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing to discuss here.
Okay. Sharon, did I skip over you? Did you have your hand up there for a minute? Did I miss you? I'm sorry if I did. Okay. Go ahead, Dick.
Well, I would just add to what Jane said. Recall, we had a lengthy discussion about this with Randy. This was not just some quick thing we spun off, and we put a lot of thought into it. And I think we made that decision.
Thank you. I'm not arguing either way. I accept the update. Forgive an old memory. I have been answered.
Okay. Well, just if I may dove onto this, Gordy raised the issue that we don't have enough on our website. And I would like to pursue that. I would like to find out beyond the issue of the legal opinions, what we are missing. And so if that's okay, I'm going to work with Catherine and whoever else, and I'll find out what's not missing. I'm going to get a hold of Gordy and find out, and I'll see that stuff gets back on there, because it was a problem last time. And it was a problem going into this time where the old records were not available and they should have been. So I will take that up if that's okay with everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. Sharon, did you have something you wanted to add? Under new business?
Some cream to her coffee.
Yeah, well, I'd like to make a statement under new business. I just want to make one. I just want to make a note about Maureen. Maureen, can you just say, what are you going to be doing? You're going to be...
I'm going to find out what is not on our CRC current website that should be on there. What records are missing? I'll contact Gordy. I'll go on myself and look. And if I can help get information on there, I will.
Maureen, did you see the note from Catherine on the chat?
From whom?
Catherine. On the chat.
No, I didn't.
Take a look at what she's saying, maybe.
Okay. But my question was, I thought Sharon had something you wanted to.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to make sure that
you got this piece.
Down.
Okay.
And, yeah,
so Bill, you got that. Bill's question is answered about the request to him. And then you got my dubbing on that to say that I'm going to make sure our website is in better shape.
Okay. Should I speak now to new business, or maybe we should let Jane?
Please. Yes, please, because we're going to adjourn here in 2 seconds.
Okay, Jane has a comment too.
Yes. Well, okay, Jane, is it about what we're just talking about?
Well, it was actually about a next steps question that we kind of skipped over that.
I know. I kind of did that on purpose because.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, I want to go back to finish up with new business. So I'll get back to you.
Sure.
Okay. So I just wanted to speak to an email that the CRC received from a community member a few days ago. And just to speak to that for a moment, this email was wanting to ensure that the CRC was aware that slavery has existed among Native American tribes, and including some of the Coast Salish tribes. And so my comment in response to that is this: that human beings have treated each other badly in every part of the world and in many cultures. And I don't believe that that justifies the genocide of the last 150 years or the racial discrimination that's continued into the 21st century. I would like to see us welcome the opportunity to evolve as human beings in how we regard and treat each other, all of us. The fact remains that until settlers of European descent came to this region, the waters were not polluted, and the salmon and orca populations were not endangered, the Coast Salish tribes have been good stewards of these lands that we now inhabit. And in that respect, we have a lot to learn from them, and they should be acknowledged for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay. Now, is there any other new business anybody needs to take up? Okay, so I skipped over next steps, and I'm going to go back to Jane here. Did you have something you wanted to offer here?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It is that I'm just wondering, in terms of next steps, is there a point at which we present the recommendations to the county council that anyone is aware of? And is that happening after the election takes place? Or I'm assuming also, Maureen, that maybe at the next meeting or perhaps via email in advance of the next meeting, our chair will give us some indication as to the remaining work that we need to undertake.
Yeah.
I think we're probably all quite anxious to complete
Yeah,
our work in the course of its business, because we've got a bit more to do, but it's not clear to me what are the other things outstanding.
Okay, so just from my conversations with the chair, I know that we have, we're not going to be submitting the recommendations until after the election, because at least 2 of them are contingent upon the outcome of that. So, and then there is the resolution that we have to find some way of getting signed by all of us, which will lead us into early December. So we have some things to do, and that's all I can say. And I think at this next October meeting, we should clarify it, get our ducks in a row, and know exactly, everybody will know exactly where we're headed. Go ahead, Sharon.
Yeah, we have to finalize the ranked choice voting amendment for the 2022 ballot.
Okay, okay. I forgot about that. Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything wonderful to share?
Move we
Or
adjourn.
say goodnight to each other and how nice it is to see your faces again. Go ahead. You have something there?
Move we
Saying,
adjourn.
I think we
Hold-
were going
hold
to
on.
do a
Patty.
a public advocate kind of thing for the next election too. Wasn't somebody working on that? You know,
Yeah,
there
you're
was this ombudsman that turned into public advocate position.
That
and
didn't
we
make
talked
the list.
No,
Okay.
but it's not a recommendation. It's an
It's on
amendment.
the thing. Yeah.
There's
It's
3
on the-
amendments. Yeah, there's 3
Yeah.
amendments for the next ballot. so.
Yeah,
Three
so
amendments.
that's still in the process.
Yes, so we have to review those and then I'll make sure Kevin knows that there are some specific things we got to cover next time. Thank you for reminding me. Somebody
Move we
else,
adjourn.
Richard,
Move we
yes.
adjourn. Am I muted?
You're,
Move we adjourn.
no, go ahead.
I said, I move we adjourn.
I
I'm
second
with
that.
Richard. Right, I've got 3 seconds. That does it for me. I think we're done. Thank you all so much. Good to see you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Ta-ta for now.
Good night now. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks, everybody.
Are you going to stop the recording here?